How do you do? Mr. Carl Lemley feels it would be a little unkind to present this picture without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Number 1, story elements and themes. So this guy's just like writing letters to his sisters on a boat, like out in the Arctic Ocean, and then he finds this guy floating on a dog sled. So he pulls him on board and asks like, what happened? And so the guy like proceeds to give his entire life story, like from birth till the present moment, instead of just like cutting to the point that a bad thing he made put him there. So he goes off on like this 9 seasons too long tale of his desire for knowledge and how it ruined his life. Within this tale are themes of nature, body, technology, science, and the dangers of being an educated young adult that knows everything. The uncertainty involving the power of what the future holds is essentially the driving factor of the story. The newfangled gizmos of the 1800s were scary to the 1800s people, and the fear of scary things was kept well into the 1960s as modern medicine and science were beginning to have big breakthroughs. Remember that film we saw, La Java? Basically, time in that film was pieced together by photographs to create the illusion of life. The vision of movement through the use of chronophotography is a good way of understanding how the idea of Victor's creation came to be. The succession of still, non-living things combined using modern technology. There's just an overall fear of what it could entail for the future, and the fear is made even more evident through the plot. Victor Frankenstein is just a happy kid with happy things. Then he gets old and everything sucks. He just wanted to create a man in his own image. You know, an 8-foot-tall perfect specimen that makes great films. But instead fabricates a monster so grotesque that not even the cheapest whore hanging out by the 7-Eleven would touch him with a used needle. The appearance and actions of the monster are juxtaposed with the decaying health of Victor Mosby. The book is basically a 277-page way of saying, don't fuck with the natural order of stuff. Technology is acting as some ominous force that could potentially ruin a peaceful existence as we know it. The film version doesn't differ much in terms of these themes either, despite the radical change in plot. But just seriously, look at the clusterfuck in the background. There's like electricity, knobs, towers, wheels. This lab scene has pretty much become the iconic laboratory design when you want to show a scientifically advanced setting with a bunch of ominous shit going on. Like all the confusing and boring objects just making our imaginations run wild at what sorts of things are going on. The lighting and setting of the lab don't really help anything either. It doesn't really help that it's never described in the book how anyone came into contact. Oh shit. It also doesn't help that it's never described in the book anyway. I'm gonna ignore that. It also doesn't help that it's never described how Victor came into... It also doesn't help that it's never described how Victor came into... Look, Victor gets the body parts, he makes the monster, and it doesn't really say how he got them. He just sort of, it's just like pieces of hands and legs are just like sewn together, and like someone has this face. Naturally, just, I don't know, but like the 1990 film did a much better job of just like capturing this from scratch feel that the book version gave you. It really looks like the skin was fastened together by a professional.
Number 2, communication. Prime method of communication in this story is through letters and old-fashioned verbal communication. The entire book itself is basically one giant letter to Walton's sister about the crazy guy he found in the water. There were no phone calls, texts, emails, or hashtagging on your Instagram. The simplicity and the nature of this communication contrasts with all the technological advancements found in Victor's lab. Everything noted in a letter is important or critical information, and it usually mobilizes the characters to a different setting. Nobody's telling you about some fucking dog in a hat they saw 2 minutes ago. Changes in dialect specifically between Victor and the monster is also noteworthy. Anytime Victor is speaking to the monster, he switches to a Shakespearean tongue, indicating that he feels the monster is inferior. In the film, verbal information spread like wildfire, which created a mob-like mentality between the people. which allowed them to gather the courage to face the monster. There's not much more of the communication aspect of the film, though. The world Mary Shelley came from was a simpler time. Advanced technology is largely absent except in the case of Victor's lab. Number 3. Knowledge is power. Information in the story is usually held by Victor Frankenstein, who uses it to play the role of God by creating life.
The storm will be magnificent. All the electrical secrets of heaven. And this time we're ready.
Prompting disastrous consequences. Frankenstein conceals the knowledge to his loved ones about his creation because of his guilty conscience, but in doing so, he just made things worse. He believes that his family is unable to understand his current situation, similar to how our government is keeping things from its people. Frankenstein knew that what he was doing was wrong, but persevered for the sake of knowledge. He's a prime example of how unrestrained scientific curiosity could drive everything to
Number 4. Technology and ideology. When the novel was originally written, Galvanism was growing in popularity with the scientific community. Galvanism, the effect? Oh, a fucking punctuation. Galvanism is the effect of electricity on the muscles on a biological body that result in stimulating them. Okay, this grammar is just not...
I think it's like galvanism, the effect of electricity on the muscles in a biological body that...
Galvanism is the effect of electricity on the muscles in a biological body that results in its stimulation, causing dead muscles to flex and move. Mary Shelley took a new popular scientific technology and took it a few steps further beyond what was being studied in laboratories. Mary Shelley took a new popular scientific technology and took it a few steps beyond what was being studied in laboratories, exploring what has only been hypothesized at the time. However, in doing so, she has also examined the common views on such theories about galvanism at the time. At the time, Jesus Christ, just cut words out. I need to edit this. I'm reading off. I didn't write this. It was like one of my partners. It's really eloquently stated. It's just he just repeats words. It doesn't sound well when you read it out. Give me a second. Galvanism is a popular idea in the 1800s. Mary Shelley heard about it, then incorporated the themes into her storybook, then basically took the concept to the next level, creating a tale about how one brings life from the dead. The idea was seen by the community as tampering with the work of God.
Poor old Bowman. Have you never wanted to do anything that was dangerous? Where should we be if nobody tried to find out what lies beyond? You never wanted to look beyond the clouds and the stars?
The ironic thing is that a more recent film handled this foresight of future technologies in a much more positive light.
Number 5. Understanding technology. Technology really isn't understood in this story. Everything from Victor's equipment to how he assembled a person from scratch is essentially an enigma. The alienating feeling we get from the technological elements of the story and film serve to support the main themes of the story. Technology, bad. The only thing technology does in this film is subvert the natural process of life. It's even used to harness the forces of nature into serving man. There's a big control battle going on here between people and nature, but the end result that the book and film convey is that people shouldn't attempt to assume control over forces they cannot comprehend.
Number 6. Aliens. So the monster is basically our alien body. He's turned away by everyone he meets and is viewed as a disgusting, abnormal freak. Even his own creator was too disgusted to take the poor kid out for some ice cream or something. In the film, Vic Henry at least shows some semblance of giving a rat's ass, but his cohorts quickly talk him out of attempting to get through with the monster with a serial killer brain in his head. The body is basically used to show that nothing good can come from our tampering with the natural order of things. I mean, things could have gone better if people weren't immediate dicks to the guy just for looking different. I mean, there's an entire section of the book where he's just helping a family out, but then they hate him in the end. I don't know, he's just doomed to be an outcast just for the nature of his arrival in the world. I mean, if the book was written by some liberal hippie nowadays, I might assume there's a lesson to not judge a book by its cover. But I guess we're just supposed to assume that Fuck! Don't talk over. No. So I guess we're just supposed to assume that this guy had zero redeeming qualities. he saved the girl and then got shot.
Benefits and oh crap. Number 7, benefits and suffering. The entire story is basically filled with people's tears and suffering. The film has a corny Hollywood everything gets better ending, but the suffering is essentially intact. Frankenstein suffers after he realizes he's crossed the line with his experiments, primarily shown through guilt-ridden rants. His fiancée, this little girl, his professor, and his best friend are all strangled to death. The monster itself, in the book anyway, is suffering because he can't make a single friend in the world. He was conceived as an abomination by a man's desire to play God and is instantly rejected by pretty much everyone, except this little girl anyway. I could state the theme of the book here again, but just know that it ties with, like, the theme we've been talking about for 10 minutes.
Number 8. Ha! Nope! I refuse to shoehorn in a pointless discussion about gender, sexuality, race, class into the story, because it's not about any of those things. Come at me, bro!